Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the SmackDown review for the 20th of November 2020. And man, this is supposed to be the reason we should, in theory, purchase the network for the Survivor Series. This is the best you've got. Are you ribbing me? Week in and week out, I kind of continue to say that WWE is getting worse. And those of you who contact me via Twitter or contact me via private message, and there's a good number of you, you think I'm too harsh sometimes. Well, I'm not going to change who I am. I was around the business for a dozen years, and I know what good booking is. I know what good booking is not. And they don't know how to do good booking on a regular basis on this program. It's just abysmally bad, and I can't I just can't go in that direction. Anyway, so we start off with the Tag Team Champion Street Profits. They're in the back. They're the new and improved champion. They're in like a Champions Lounge kind of thing. Montez Ford notes that Survivor Series is Sunday night, and it's the final farewell for The Undertaker. Now, people care about The Undertaker. 30 years ago, you'd think so. Them paying homage and the New Day paying homage to The Undertaker in this way just reeks of, we're not over, so we're going to acknowledge a guy who is over. That's what this is. Anyway, Ford does an impression of The Undertaker. Undertaker's music plays. The lights turn on. And they kind of have a purple hue to him. Big E emerges, and he's pretending to be the Undertaker. Dawkins said they're 2 days away from beating the New Day. Man, if the Street Profits beat the New Day, like, I came back and the New Day was a thing, and I enjoy the New Day. The Street Profits are just their New Day crime time knockoffs, and they're not good. Now, Montez Ford is a good athlete. I'm not going to say he's not, but these characters, they're so knockoffs, and it's just ridiculous. Anyway, Kofi Kingston, they mentioned they're going to knock the Jamaican accent back into him, which was a fun line. They've promised to defeat the New Day on Sunday night, and obviously Big E fights and disagrees. He points out that they don't have to wait until Sunday night. Raw Tag Champs, New Day, music hits, and they make their way to the ring. Michael Cole and Corey Graves noted that there are a few more surprises tonight. So basically, we ignore the fact that there's a brand split whatsoever. Xavier Woods and Kingston noted they returned to SmackDown to see if there were any fists left, and they wanted to check into the SmackDown hotel. Kingston and Woods promised to defeat the Street Profits. Wood says they were dead men. And of course, Kingston thinks that's too harsh. Wood points out that's a segue to talk about The Undertaker. Woods then and Kingston do Undertaker impressions. They sit in the middle of the ring. Sami Zayn music hits. Zayn makes fun of Bobby Lashley, calls him a poster boy, claims WWE is protecting Lashley. King Corbin's music hits. Really? Do we need these multi-person segments that no one's going to remember by the end of the show? Anyway, he points out the New Day had their farewell match a few weeks ago. Actual good point. Woods argued that was their final match on as SmackDown Superstars. Corbin's unhappy that Drew McIntyre shows up last week. Ziggler and Rude make their way out. They don't have a problem with Corbin for some reason, but don't like Zayn. This makes no sense. And why are heels infighting with each other with no story? Anyway, New Day notes that they'll defend the titles tonight, but they want to know against which team. Zayn says he's got a big match on Sunday, and Corbin could beat Ziggler and Rude. The heels are all fighting with each other. This is just a goofy waste of time. Zayn and Corbin agree to take on Ziggler and Rude. Winners taking on New Day later. All four end up jumping the New Day. Street Profits music hits. They make the save. Ford hits a dive, taking out the heels. Kingston is impressed with the dive, but he's also a little bit caught off guard. It was just way too long and kind of pointless. I mean, for an action of an 8-man match, New Day and Street Profits defeating Sami Zayn, King Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode was fine. Adam Pearce announces the match, guess when, during the commercial break. The match starts before the break's over. Babyface's early advantage. Street Profits isolate Robert Roode. So sad to see a guy who was a former TNA champion just wasted like this. Roode has had so much potential, but being, I think he's over 40 now. That's gone. Kingston tags himself in, hits a drop kick. Woods and Kingston do a stampede on Roode in the corner. Ford tries to join in. Kingston tags himself back in. And then the heels take over for a bit. Corbin hits a deep six for near fall. Faces regain control for a bit. Ford makes a tag. Ford hits a drop kick and a moonsault for near fall. Brief brawl breaks out. Kingston wipes out Ford with a crossbody. We go to another break. Ziggler comes back. Ziggler's using a chin lock. Heels isolate Ford for a little bit. Ford fights back and hits an enziguri. Kingston gets a tag, goes nuts. He hits the boom drop on Roode, sets up Trouble in Paradise. Roode avoids it. Woods makes a blind tag, hits a DDT for a close near fall. Dawkins tags himself in. Notice how babyfaces are tagging themselves in? That's because no one's working together because the match doesn't matter. Anyway, they had a brief stare down. Corbin hits Woods from behind. Dawkins hits a splash on Roode. Roode fights back, tries to get a win. Zayn has yet to get into the ring. Zayn's the smartest one of the bunch. He still doesn't want to get in at this point. Roode demands he gets in the ring. Dawkins pulls Zayn in, hits a spine buster on him. And then Ford hits a frog splash for the win. So Zayn looks like a complete goof, even though he's, a secondary champion on one of your brands. New Day and Street Profits celebrate the win. Both teams hold their titles in the air. And that's that. Daniel Bryan makes his return tonight, and they make a big deal out of him returning, except he's only been gone for 3 weeks. Okay, so Kayla Braxton's in the back with Daniel Bryan. They're waiting for an interview. Sami Zayn walks by. He's yelling at the referee. He said he wasn't legal. He never actually was tagged in. Zayn gets in Bryan's face, yells at him. And then Bryan puts on a mask, knocks down Zayn. Zayn is furious and runs away. Kayla Braxton interviews Daniel Bryan. She praises his new haircut, which I guess is a dad cut. Anyway, they recapped Bryan's match against Jey Uso and the beatdown from a few weeks ago. Bryan points out that he saw Uso's interview and believes that Uso's attack wasn't entirely his fault. He says it's not personal. Bryan promised Uso that it's not personal either. This is goofy. So, a guy beats you up who you think is your friend, and you don't think it's personal, and yet it's taking away your ability to provide for your family in theory. This is stupid. Anyway, in the back, Pierce addresses Otis and adds him to the SmackDown men's team. So we've fallen so far that a comedy gimmick like Otis is on the biggest team for all of SmackDown on one of the 4 big pay-per-views of the year. Pierce noted he has the power to add Otis. Gable shows up, celebrates with Otis, making the team. I can't wait for Gable to turn. Anyway, Natalya approaches Pierce. She points out Pierce had the power to add people to teams. he said he could only add one person, and that's the team captain, Bayley. Natalya has a qualifying match with Tamina next. Why is Tamina still employed? Why is Natalya still employed? They've both been around for over 10 years and haven't done anything relevant in at least 5. Anyway, back from the break, Seth Rollins discusses saving Murphy and helping his career. He claims that if it weren't for him, Murphy wouldn't even be with Aaliyah, which is a reasonable thought. Anyway, Rollins notes that he's been stabbed in the back and was set up. Rollins promised Murphy his final lesson. Murphy will go back to being a nothing, and pretty intense heel stuff. I know Seth Rollins is going to take time off when Becky Lynch's baby gets here and his baby gets here, so they're trying to tie up his stories, which makes sense. So Natalya defeats Tamina and is qualified for the women's team on SmackDown, and 3 people care in a third world country somewhere, somehow. Bianca Belair and Bayley join Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary. Belair's out there alone. Bayley invites herself to join. Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan are also watching in the match. The match itself is kept super short. Tamina has the early advantage. Natalya makes a comeback and wipes out Tamina with a discus lariat. She locks on the sharpshooter, gets a win. So we're making someone who has, 13, 14 years experience seem like a big deal. Anyway, post-match, Natalya celebrates joining the team. The Riot Squad comes out, and the women's SmackDown team poses. They recap Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns as a feud. Drew and Reigns do a contract signing. Reigns and McIntyre do pretty well okay. So McIntyre makes his way out before the break. McIntyre's sitting in the ring with Adam Pearce at the table. Pearce said he's basically at the head of the table with the contract itself. So Pearce actually looks like, an official. Anyway, at least they did that much right. Universal Champion Roman Reigns makes his way out with Paul Heyman. He takes his time entering and makes McIntyre wait. Probably not a good idea, but it makes sense that he'd do heelish stuff. Reigns then makes Pearce stand up as he takes his seat. He's the head of the table, and they're getting Reigns over as a major heel, so this is good. Anyway, Reigns notes that he knew McIntyre would win the title back. Heyman didn't think he could, but Reigns believed in him. Reigns said Heyman told him that McIntyre is the right guy in the right place, but at the wrong time. McIntyre knows all about Reigns, he says. He knows that Reigns wants to flip the table over and attack him. McIntyre says he's just there to sign the contract. McIntyre gives Reigns some advice and tells him to enjoy the next 2 days because Reigns is going to get ready for War on Sunday night. I'm not necessarily sure why either champion would risk their championship for their respective brand in this match, and that's not addressed either, but, who cares? Logic. Reigns doesn't like the comment and promises to teach McIntyre respect and a lesson and teach him he's a secondary champion. McIntyre says that Reigns might as well just do something now. Reigns promised one day McIntyre would be the man. He promised McIntyre would look back on these moments and all things would fall into a line, and that he loves Reigns. Reigns signs the contract and tells McIntyre he'll always be his favorite number 2 champion, and they close. They recap Murphy turning on Seth. Murphy with Ray, Dominic, and Aaliyah. Mysterio defeats Seth Rollins. Good match for Murphy. I wish they weren't paying the story off so quickly. I think they still could have gotten more out of it, even another couple months. But if Rollins is going away, they had to do it before he goes away. Rollins has an early advantage, and he's in control. He beats Murphy around quite a bit and taunts him. Rollins ties up Murphy in the ropes, grabs a kendo stick from under the ring. Ray and Dominic try to prevent Rollins from using it, and Rollins beats both of them up, and Murphy climbs to the top turnbuckle. Rollins sends him off and into the barricade. We go to the break. We come back. Rollins is in control. He hits a sling blade for a near fall. Mysterios were cheering for Murphy, and that bothers Rollins. Murphy fights back, hits a massive dive onto Rollins on the floor. Murphy climbs to the top turnbuckle. Rollins cuts him off again. Rollins then hits a superplex and a Falcon Arrow for a near fall, which, I mean, they're doing a good back and forth with this. Actually, they've done a pretty good back and forth with most of the feud. Anyway, they trade some shots. They go on the apron. Murphy rocks Rollins with a kick and a running knee. Murphy gets back into the ring, and Rollins hits a curve stomp, which is well done for near fall. Murphy gets his feet on the bottom rope. Rollins yells at Murphy and hits a buckle bomb. I thought they banned that move. Anyway, fights back, hits a jumping knee. Rollins recovers and goes for a curve stomp again. Murphy avoids it and hits another knee. Murphy then hits Murphy's Law for the win. Good for Murphy. I wouldn't say it made him a star, but it definitely elevated him to be in a good role while Rollins is gone, if this is where he goes. Anyway, post-match, Murphy and the Mysterio family celebrate the win. Sasha Banks makes her way to the ring. Sasha and Asuka have a kind of square-off segment. Michael Cole interviews Asuka and Sasha in the ring. Cole noted the feud started during the summer. Wow, that's long-term booking. And Banks defeated Asuka for the Raw Women's title. Asuka mocks Sasha, even tells Banks she couldn't see her. Hey, maybe there's heat on Cena. That could be fun. Anyway, Banks got in Asuka's face, so they don't have to wait till Sunday. Asuka yells that Banks isn't ready for Asuka, and Banks says she was born ready. Anyway, Carmella jumps Banks from behind, attacks her legs, and hangs Banks upside down in the corner for a super kick, and Asuka just stands there and watches. In the back, Kayla interviews Jey Uso, asks about if he's allowed to answer questions. Uso noted that he's the only one who decided who gets to beat down Daniel Bryan, and he put him through a table. And then we go to the main event of the program. Daniel Bryan defeats Jey Uso. If Jey Uso is supposed to be a major force on the Survivor Series team, then why is he losing here? They do have a good fast-paced match with decent action, but shouldn't Jey still be riding the wave of winning and all of that? Anyway, Bryan and Uso trade some hard shots in the beginning. Bryan hits kicks and takes him down. Several hard forearms by Bryan. Uso fights back and nails Bryan with back elbows, among other things. Bryan sends Uso to the floor, follows up with a dive. Uso fights back and does a backdrop through the announcer's table. We go to break, we come back. Uso's in control of the match. He yells multiple times, "This isn't personal." Uso nails Bryan with chops in the corner. Uso goes after Bryan's back and kidneys, hits a backbreaker, climbs to the top. Uso cuts off Bryan on the top and then hits a superplex for a near fall. Uso attempts the Samoan drop. Bryan rolls him up for a near fall of his own. Bryan's still one of the best in the world, even when he's not really trying. Bryan goes for the yes lock. Uso manages to get out and goes after the back and kidneys of Bryan again. Uso climbs to the top. Bryan cuts him off, hits a huge back suplex, and fires up, hits several yes kicks for near fall, and Bryan goes right after his face and finally hits a super kick. Uso follows up with two more super kicks. Finish comes, Uso attempts a splash off the top. Bryan gets the knees up and then uses an inside cradle for the win. And Bryan closes celebrating, and that's how we go into Survivor Series. Now, I love Daniel Bryan. I think he's wonderful, but why is he winning if he's not on a Survivor Series team? Again, stupid booking. This show is abysmally bad. They have maybe one good match per week, but it's getting worse and worse. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.